right, welcome to Jack Dotson's Racing Insider News this week, presented by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza.
Well, you did that good.
I didn't even screw up.
I know.
Man, I didn't even
Stumble
study. I didn't even study either.
Stumble just a tad, but you got it.
That's all right. Yeah. All right, got to thank our marketing partners. We got to thank Blackwater Station. If you're out in Chase City, get you some barbecue and some good drink. NC 811, Virginia 811. Call before you dig. So anytime you're doing anything in the yard, make sure you give them a call. It's a free service. GAC, Great American Company. It's a great American story with that guy, really. Black Acid Apparel. If you need 1 shirt, 10 shirts, or banners or whatever, those are the guys. They can take care of you. Bondurant Brothers Distillery. Need some good moonshine in Chase City.
Got some new peach brandy out here that's really good.
You keep talking about it, but I ain't seen one yet, Jack.
Haven't gone up there yet.
Pepsi and Mountain Dew. That's mine and Jack's flavor of choice. MPM Marketing. I mean, if you need any help with social media or a kid coming along, she's the person to kind of help you steer in the right direction and that kind of stuff. Tanya is a great asset. If you need, help write press releases, need to get the word out there, that kind of stuff. She's the guy to help these young kids catapult them before, towards what they need to do and not do before they get a guy. What did I say?
You said she's the guy.
She's the person. Factory Canopies. Great guys. Can't thank them guys enough. We got some nice chairs and some great countertop cloths. They do those 10 by 20 things. You can put your sponsors on them or your logos and all that stuff on a thing to cover your car up at the racetrack and stay out of the sun. Safety Clean, Performance Plus Motor Oil. Last but not least, Langley Speedway, Bill Mullis, Chuck Hall, Vaughn. Thank those guys for allowing us to do the show here. What's up, Eddie Clark?
Andre Greer.
What's up, Greer? With that, we'll go to the...
All right, let's go to the Smith's Wraps and Graphics Racing Roundup from this past weekend.
And the new limited late model
the new
sponsor.
That's right. They are the new limited late model sponsor.
And we
also got the new limited late model rules are out now. So I'm sure we're going to maybe hear some stuff about that in the next few weeks. I'm going to try to get Justin to come over here, and we're going to try to talk to him about the new rules and stuff. But anyway, let's talk about this past weekend in racing. They had the legendary Snowball Derby down at Pensacola, Florida.
Man, there was some racing going on down there.
There was some big racing. They had cars on top of cars. I think they had some like 60-some plus late models. How about that truck race and that wreck in that truck race?
I mean, and then look how many. I seen Anthony. Anthony showed a video where he was in the stands. I mean, the place was packed.
It is jam packed every year. They say
that's got to be. That's got to be one of our sort of bucket list places we need to go and see and do.
I want to go some kind of bad, but you got if you go, you're gonna have to take a couple days off. So
yeah. And that what's that place up north? I was trying to think of it last night. That races inside that concrete place.
Oh, yeah, it's up there in Pennsylvania because.
Is it Pennsylvania or Ohio?
I thought it was Pennsylvania.
I thought it was Ohio, but it's like 3 stories, and they race on the concrete in one place. It's cold as hell, but it's during the winter.
Yeah, and
all the big names go up there and race dirt.
Spanky's been up there. I remember Spanky went up there and was part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but that truck race and with that wreck in that truck race, that guy is completely lucky that he's still around.
Did you see some of the pictures of the aftermath of the car where got into the seat? I mean, extremely lucky.
He is totally. All right, let's talk about the winners from down there this past weekend. In the truck series race, the one we were just talking about, or truck race, Gavin Graham got the win after Casey Roderick was DQ'd.
What's Casey cheating on? Why are you wearing a shirt then?
I don't know. I really hadn't thought about that part of it. In the modifieds, they call it the modifieds of mayhem. Danny Duquesne got the win. Augie Grill finished second. Cody Strickler finished third. Stephen Nasi finished fourth. And Jeff Letson finished fifth. It's not unusual for Casey to be in the truck race and Nasi to be in a modified race.
Yeah. Well, how did our local guys do? Have we heard?
I haven't heard all
The Humlets did?
No, they did. They're not racing until the spring races.
Right.
Spring races. In the Outlaws, the late model Outlaws, Connor Okresick got the win. Timmy Watson finished second. Jake Finch finished third. Bubba Winslow fourth, and Connor Sutton fifth. In the Snowflake, Derek Thorne got the win. Jake Garcia got second. Colin Allman finished third. John DeAngelis fourth, and John Boland fifth. And then on Sunday, they had the Snowball Derby, and that was a big one. Chandler Smith got the win. Derek Thorne, who got the pole for the Snowball and won the Snowflake, finished second in the Snowball. Cole Butcher was third. Ryan Priest was fourth, and Sammy Smith was fifth. Down at the Goodyear All-American Speedway this past weekend for their Winter Heat Series got kicked off this weekend. In the Bandos. Guess who won the Bando race down there?
Riley Music.
No, Riley Music's not. Phoenix Kimball. Been down there 2 times, won 2 times. I mean, just the cream of the crop as I see it. But I'm not wearing her stuff tonight, so I feel pretty bad. In the mini stock race, Brandon Clements got the win. Late models, Rusty Daniels got the win. U-Cars, Curtis Lanier. Bombers, Justin Brashears. Legends, Chase Singletary.
Scared me.
And some other news that we need to talk about. Aiden Zedrich. Aiden Zedrich, we want to talk about him and hope he's doing well. I hadn't heard anything the last couple days about him, but I hope he's doing well. We'll check on him again this week. Willie Mullins is looking for 2 drivers for an opportunity to do the ARCA test down in Daytona coming up in January. So
you can put your name in the hat?
No, I'm not putting my name in the hat. You can put your name in the hat if you want to.
Yeah.
Down at Carteret County this coming weekend, they got the big race. They've got their big $10,000 to win race down there this weekend. I think Butterbean and Connor Hall are going down for it. And GMS and Petty had a press conference today where they have rebranded. It is now Petty GMS Motorsports. Eric Jones will be driving the 43, and Ty Dillon will be driving the 42. And Timmy Hill has started another truck team, so he's going to have 2 truck teams this coming year in the truck series.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty big doing. And Mason Dunn just walked in here, spent the whole weekend down at the Snowball.
When did you get back? Yesterday night? Last night. Dang.
So had some fun?
A little bit too much.
Oh, a little bit too much.
We only won everything.
You were with?
So Derek Thorne was a client. Chandler Smith was a client. 6 out of the top 8 were clients in the Derby. So we had a good weekend. Did a lot of tires.
But Derek Thorne, he had a heck of a weekend.
Yeah.
Just didn't quite pull it off in the Snowball.
No, Chandler wanted it just a little bit more there at the end, I guess.
It's got to be a lot of fun to go down there for those races. I mean, I watched them, and I got to get down there for that. I want to be part of that.
It's a long week, but it's a fun week.
When did you go down?
I went down last Wednesday morning and went straight to the track. Usually I go down on Monday or Tuesday, but this year I didn't go down until Wednesday. So 5 straight days at the racetrack. It's you get sore, but it's a lot of fun.
Now, if you don't have a car running in the features at night, y'all get to leave, right?
Yeah, so usually we left, like, we didn't stay for the pro trucks or the outlaws or the modifieds. We watched it on Race in America, but we didn't stay at the track.
What about the truck race? That big wreck in the truck race. I mean, that kid is lucky he's still around with us.
Yeah, they had him at the track Sunday. Broken vertebrae, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
Oh, for sure.
Wow. I didn't know he had a broken vertebrae. I didn't hear anything about that.
He got out feeling fine, but a couple hours later they had him at the hospital. I want to say it was a T4 maybe.
Wow.
And your boy in your shirt thought he had to go to race that race.
Yeah, he got DQ'd.
What did he get DQ'd for?
Chassis wasn't how they like it to be.
It was a little offset.
Well, I mean everything's offset in those stars, but it was just a little out. The way it was explained to me was out of spec. Okay.
That's true.
But now it's a great time. Tim Bryan and his staff, they put up. I love going down there.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. The tech after the race Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I heard a lot of stuff. I wasn't there, so I can't honestly say. But they say they tore that car down good after the race.
I mean, they were walking away with the motor and individual parts, which Upchurch was fine with. I mean, that's kind of what he wanted them to do. He's still on probation with the SEAL Alliance, so he wanted to make a statement with that motor, and he said it was mileage down anyway, so he needed to tear it down. He said they saved him work.
All right. We'll come back to Mason in a minute if he's going to hang around for a minute. But let's get Mr. Mike Wallace on here, presented by Bondurant Brothers Distillery. Come on, get him on here. Hey,
What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're doing wonderful. How's everything your way?
Oh man, it's wonderful down here in Concord, North Carolina. The weather's been beautiful, and just come over by the race shop to do a few things, and hang out with you guys for a few minutes.
But you know,
or hours, or however we're going to talk.
But I did something about a month ago. I went to your brother Kenny's shop down in Missouri.
Now wait a minute, you didn't go to a shop. You rode up in the backyard.
I went right up in the backyard. Kind of caught him off guard, but your shop looks like a lot like his.
Well, it's fairly similar. They're just little backyard shops, to be honest with you. I mean, this is actually on this property. My son Matt and his new wife Sarah are living, and it's just it was built originally just to keep motorhomes in, and then Matt got into racing, and Chrissy originally, and then Matt, and we keep his late model cars here. And it's just a good place to come hang out.
Well, you guys got to go. And Kenny, he knows exactly what to do. He made us come and take pictures in front of his all his trophies and everything, and he gave us a family lowdown on all you guys and everything.
Well, then you heard some really good stuff and some really great stories, and yeah, he's got everything right there in one place. I've never quite put it all in one location, but what a good time, what fun he is. You know, him and I and Kenny Schrader are going to race the 1st of January out in Yuma, Arizona, Cocopah Speedway. We're all going to dirt race together. That's going to be fun.
All right, have you done a lot of dirt racing?
I grew up dirt racing. That's exactly where my background's at. I haven't done it for years, but I was bad at the bone, man. I was Scott Bloomquist back in the day before Bloomquist was around.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Purvis and I actually raced a lot together when Purvis was driving that 15 car, and he won all those races.
Oh, okay. All right, well, cool. Well, you know, I went back and looked through your career and some of the things that you have done. You have drove for a bunch of people in your career, some big name people. But what was one person I picked out of the whole bunch was Junie Dunleavy. What was it like to drive for Junie? We're Junie's from right around here, and we everybody kind of reveres him as a special person. What was it like driving for him?
Well, he was a special person, and he was a special person in a lot of drivers' lives, because what he did, he gave the kind of the underdog driver an opportunity to race in the big time. I got hooked up with Junie Dunleavy actually through Don Beverly. Don's, up in your area there, and owned a team, and I ran well at Daytona, and I got a phone call from Beverly going, "Hey, you want to drive that 90 car?" And I was stunned. I was a young guy, you know what I mean? I wasn't young. I was actually an old guy, young into my career. And it's like, heck yes. He goes, well, I think you're going to get a call and you need to be in Richmond in the morning. And so that's how it happened. It was fun, though. And, Junie and I, we ran well at times. We didn't run as good as we'd all like, but he was such a wonderful guy. And then a gentleman who by the name of Bill DeRusha, who was the CEO of Heilig Myers Furniture Company, made all that, put it all together. And we had really a great time for a couple of years.
Yeah, he was one of the legends that helped make the sport what it is today. So
without a doubt. I mean, it's such a nice guy. I got to tell you this story though, real quick, since you asked about Junie. And this is the type of guy he was. So we're at Pocono one day, and we're not running quite as good as we think we should. And I'm a typical driver. I'm complaining on the radio, right?
Okay.
And he goes, well, Bubba. He says, who you think was the last one to practice that car yesterday? And he says, if you want, just pull that baby in behind the wall here and we'll work on it for 10 or 15 laps. I said, no. I said, I understand, sir. I'll keep my mouth shut. But he was so cool about it. Hey, Bubba, who practiced that car last?
Now, you drove for a guy like Junie Dunleavy, who is probably highly revered and everybody thought so much of him. But then you also, in your career, you drove for a guy like James Finch.
That's two opposite ends of the spectrum right there.
They're completely opposite. And my son used to work for James Finch, so I know a lot about James Finch. What was it like with him in your time with him?
Well, James is a unique individual in a very positive way. He's fun. He's a racer that loves to have fun, meaning on and off the racetrack.
Yep.
Surrounds himself with fun people, but he expects to run well too. I mean, that's I don't know. That's just he was a great guy. I enjoyed my time with him, and you're right, boy. That's two different spectrums right there. I mean, from night and day, and So James, the difference with Junie, you rode around in a van, and James, you flew around in a jet. So it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, he was in his own world, that's for sure, and so in a lot of ways.
Well, and James is still out there racing with his son Jake right now. They just ran the Snowball Derby this past weekend. So
I heard he was there. I mean, I saw a picture of him being there, but I knew he was still involved with Jake, and he says he's not going to ever go back to cup racing or anything like that anymore. But I think he will eventually if Jake gets in that position.
Well, I'm sure if they're all in the position, he advances through his career and wants to do that. There's a lot of opinions out there right now in the race world, but in regards to where anybody wants to race at, and of course, the NASCAR racing world is where the big deal is. Dirt racing's become real popular again over the last couple of years. Tremendous fan support from in the dirt world. So just whatever fits you and the budget you have to race off of.
Well, it's cool that and I'm not trying to make this a Kenny Wallace show or anything, but
well, go ahead. Everybody else talks about Kenny when he's around.
But I'm saying, with his involvement in the dirt cars and everything, he's helped bring that emotion back about the dirt cars. He's got.
Well, I know that everybody in the dirt world considers Kenny Wallace an incredible advocate for short track racing, and he considers himself that. And he's got a nice platform, meaning he is a former NASCAR driver, had a big television star, got a great social media following, races every type of car there is, whether it's dirt or asphalt, short track, regional racing. And, hey, that's where we all came from. That's where we all got our opportunity. I mean, I grew up racing at Granite City, Illinois, Tri-City Speedway, right outside of Illinois, right outside of St. Louis across the Mississippi River. And then I got a great opportunity by winning the Winston Racing Series Championship in 1990, racing at I-44 Speedway in Lebanon, Missouri, and Bolivar Speedway. So if it wasn't for short track racing, none of us would have an opportunity or would have had an opportunity to compete at NASCAR's highest level.
Well, it had to be great with your dad and the three boys coming along, and everybody became race car drivers. I mean, that's the kind of thing he instilled in all you guys.
That's hard to believe, isn't it? We talk about it on occasions when we get together. There's three brothers. That's the whole family. We all got the opportunity to drive race cars for a living. That was I think it's pretty special. My dad was just a weekend racer. You know, he never thought that you could make a living driving a race car. And in his later years, of course, he moved to the Carolinas, went to all our races, and was just the race world around us loved my dad. He was so sociable and talked to everybody, whether it's the gate guard at the racetrack to the guy running the wagering stand at the dog track at Daytona, and he loved it. And we are very, very fortunate. We took a lot of it for granted for many years, I can tell you that. And then after if you want to say after it's kind of over with, you go, wow, what a special deal that is.
And Kenny moving back to Missouri, any thoughts of you someday going back to Missouri to live again? I mean, that's part of your heritage back there from what.
Well, that's part of where we came from, and we'll always hopefully be known from St. Louis, Missouri. But I love living here in Concord, North Carolina, which is just a suburb of Charlotte.
Right.
And my family all lives here, and I don't ever foresee myself moving back. I don't foresee myself ever moving anywhere, to be honest with you. We, from where our race shop is, my daughter lives 5 miles from here. We live actually right in between the two. Matt lives here on the property. Chrissy, our daughter, lives out front. So we got our own little, I don't know what you call it, a plantation, estate, whatever you want to.
Well, that's cool.
Little hangout area, and it fits, and we're close to everything. The Concord Regional Airport's 7 miles from us. Charlotte Douglas is 20 minutes from us, and all the women got all the shopping in the world they could want to do right here.
Well, yeah, I also, one of the things, I saw Chrissy race at Hickory a few times. I forget what she was racing, but she was a heck of a race car driver. But I didn't know that you two had raced against each other until I found out when I did a study. You two raced each other, and the first time it's ever happened that a dad and a daughter raced against each other, and she beat you.
She did. That happened at Talladega Superspeedway, Talladega, Alabama. And what an incredible time that was. And what I mean by that, yes, it was the first time in the history of NASCAR that a father and daughter had ever raced against each other, at least in a national touring event. And we run the truck race together. The Speedway heard about it. They asked us to come ahead of time and do a lot of appearances. And the end result, she just flat out run me. So it was over with, and she still got those bragging rights. We haven't been able to race against each other again. I do have the right to say the last truck race I ran was at Talladega, and I won that race. So I've got a pretty good average down there.
Yeah. You during your time as a driver, you were basically known as a guy who really did well on the speedways. How did that work out that you became so good at speedways?
Well, I'm going to give you the honest answer that I believe, okay? And this might sound a little egotistical, don't mean it to come across that way. But I'm a pretty good race car driver everywhere.
Right.
It's just that the speedways allow you as a driver to play a bigger factor into what's going on, meaning everybody runs wide open. Your cars, if there was a handling percentage, let's say if you came to Charlotte Motor Speedway, you got to handle 100%. You go to Talladega or Daytona, your stuff's got to be 75% because it still handles well. And I'll be honest with you, early in my career living down here, and I'm not saying it was a whole game changer anyway, but I spent a day with Dale Earnhardt. Him and I hung out up at his farm together. And we talked racing, and we talked speedways. And I'm certainly not going to say that was the changing time of grace, but I was never scared to go up the middle, use, all the racetrack. And I had a lot of success on the speedways. Not as many wins as I would like to have, of course, but I always took primarily cars that were just so, and I ran well with them. And talking about that, the last truck race I ran at Talladega, I was a teammate to Ron Hornaday driving for Kevin Harvick, KHI. And Hornaday and I dominated that race. And the reason was because we had fast vehicles. I mean, we literally at one point of that race had to hold back straightaway lead on the field. So knowing how to use the draft and utilize it, and that's when push drafting was around. But line me up for a speedway race. I'm ready right now. Let's go.
How with the three of you, Rusty, you and Kenny, how is how was the sibling rivalry between you all? Did you all have any, hey, any of those moments where you might be a little ticked off at Rusty or a little ticked off at Kenny? I can see a lot of people being ticked off at Kenny sometimes, but
yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. What's really unique is Rusty and Kenny and I raced together at times. Never, very rarely, all three of us at the same time. But I run cup races, against Rusty, and I take that back. A couple of years we ran there, and we never really had any issues. I think we gave mutual respect to each other. And it was always, as Kenny says, Rusty was God. We knew he was supposed to run good. He was driving for Penske Racing and all that. Kenny and I were in decent cars, but we didn't have any problems. The only problem I ever had, to be honest, which is crazy, is my nephew, Stephen Wallace, who I love to death today. He wrecked me coming to the damn finish at Daytona, running 8th or 9th, and wrecked me on the front straightaway. And we had a little bit of a hard time with the family for about a year over that, but it all got resolved.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a problem down to there. I also noticed when I was looking through there, you drove for Phil Barkdahl at one time.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing day. Yep, Phil was a great guy, and let me tell you the story. You ready for the story on that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Phil Barkdahl would always go to Daytona in his closing years with a car prepared by Andy Petrie, and it was always fast. That particular year, and you'll have to help me with the date. I don't remember when it was, but I had incredible memories of it. So what happened? I went to Daytona to run the ARCA race. I didn't have a ride at the time. I didn't have nothing going on. And if you want to call hawking yourself or promising the world, I borrowed 2 cars from Michael Cranafis. I borrowed 2 motor. And when I use the word borrow, I mean literally borrow. No money transaction, just bring them back the way you got them. Motors, tires, or wheels. I had to buy tires down there. Stuff from Penske Racing, stuff from Robert Yates. And we assembled a deal, and I went to Daytona. I run second in the ARCA race to Kenny Irwin Jr. when he started racing for Robert Yates. And this is literally the truth. I'm walking out of the racetrack or out of the garage area after that race, and Phil comes up. He goes, "Hey, Mike, what are you doing?" I said, "Getting ready to go home. Don't have anything else going on." He says, "Hey, I think I need a favor from you, if you'll do it." He says, normally I qualify really good at these places, and I'm a little behind this time. And he said, "I'm going to have to race my way in on Thursday, and I don't think I could race my way in." He says, would you drive the thing? And it's like, that didn't take more than about 2 seconds to answer him. It's, hell yeah, man, I'm all in. And it was an Andy Petrie car, and Kenny Schrader was driving for Petrie at the time. And we went down there on Thursday, and we got ourselves, we did exactly what we wanted to do, is got ourselves into the Daytona 500. Memories of that event are huge because after we made it in the race and we're locked in, Jack Roush had started his new team with Johnny Benson driving for him. And it had, I think, Betty Crocker or somebody like that as a sponsor of it. They missed the race, and they came to buy a spot from Phil Barkdahl, get me out of the car and put Johnny in the car. And Phil Barkdahl, being the man that he was, and we sat up in that trailer, Jack's up there, and he's promising, say, "Hey, look, if you let Johnny run this, I'll put you in 3 other races later in the year and this and that." And Phil looks at him and goes, "Mike," he says, "what do you want to do? It's your call." He says, "I told you were going to drive it." And he says, "If you say you want to run the Daytona 500, then that's the way it is." And I said, "Well, Phil, I can tell you what, I don't know, this might be mine and yours last Daytona 500. So let's just go run the Daytona 500. And that's what we did. And Phil was so nice. The winnings, we make this joke with my wife because Phil told her this, what we made and what he paid us for that. I bought my wife a horse trailer and a truck. So we still have the horse trailer. And I said, just remember, that was courtesy Phil Barkdahl.
Yeah. He is one of a kind. I know that. He is.
You
in
a funny, unique way, totally different, but a unique way. Him and James Finch are a lot of the same.
And that's why they spent a lot of time together.
Yeah. Well, we can't tell all those times, boys.
there might be people listening to know the real story.
Hey, I know a lot about those two together because I spent some time down in Daytona with them, and when my son was working for them, so I know how the good times roll with them.
Sure, racing's you know, it all started back in the day just to have a lot of fun and you know, race and make a little bit of a living, and now it's got way more serious where everybody's kind of, those silly cell phones have screwed up a lot of things now because everybody takes pictures of you, so
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
you can't do the stuff you used to do.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight, and it's really been great to talk to you. I hope maybe I can get you back on here again and we can talk more about your career along the way and see how things go. And I know your last race was when you run one Xfinity race last year, I think it was.
I ran 3 races. I run the inaugural Indianapolis race. I guess it was 2 years ago. I ran the inaugural Xfinity Indianapolis race, the inaugural road course at Daytona, and Road America. Thanks so much. I'm going to zoom this out. Look here. This is the name of the sponsor was Market Scan.
Yeah.
And those are the guys that made that happen. And we're possibly going to do some more racing. But, yeah, you know, getting back, and I know we're getting to the end, but I did drive for a lot of different teams in my career. I was never one of those guys that, for whatever reason, had that solid 1 or 2 rides my whole year. But they kept me around for a long time. You know, I moved down here in the Carolinas in 1991, and I was able to drive race cars and get paid for it for 25 years. So I feel really fortunate.
That's very cool. Well, Mike, thank you a lot. I really appreciate you doing this and being with us tonight. And I'll contact you again sometime real soon. We'll get you back on again and talk some more.
All right. Well, I need to take your moment and plug a podcast that I do now,
Okay.
called Fast Car 2, the number 2, Fast Car 2 NASCAR with Mike Wallace. And it's available on Speed Sport, NASCAR, Spotify, Google, and Apple podcast networks. And I interview drivers, owners, crew chiefs about who they were before who they are.
Well, that's cool.
It's how did you get to who you are? You know, it'd be like me interviewing James Finch of who were you, James, before you the car owner we all know about.
Yeah.
So tune it in.
I will do that because I'll be glad to hear some of that. That's really cool.
There's about 17 shows up now. I spread out a little bit. I had 5-time NHRA Pro Stock champion Greg Anderson on this week. So that's up on the podcast now, and we didn't enjoy you all listening.
We'll do that. And thank you for being with us. And maybe next time we can get Kenny on here with you.
If you know how to make that technology work, do it. You just send me one button, though, because I don't know how to do all this stuff.
All right, man. We'll do it. Thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool.
He is, you know,
I didn't get a chance to get in. You know, Mason was saying that I guess Chrissy ran arena racing back in the day.
She did?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. All right. Now we're gonna have a man on here from Martinsburg, West Virginia, Christian Rose.
Oh, I thought you were going Tyler Carpenter.
We'll have Christian Rose on here, presented by NC 811. Let's get Christian on here.
What's up, Christian? How you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, everything. How's it going with you, man? I got to looking into, I saw you down at Goodyear. When you went down to Goodyear All-American to race that race down there, you caught my eye with that West Virginia sponsorship on your car. I tried to get over there a couple times to talk to you, but every time I went over, you went somewhere else or did something else. But I'm originally from West Virginia, so that was really cool to see that out there.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, having West Virginia come on board for us this year was a big thing. I've told a lot of people that, you know, you can have any company or any brand sponsor you, you know, if you go out there and can make a connection with them, but to have a whole state, especially my home state on the race car means more to me than anything, you know, possible. So they were on board with us for the ARCA races and the late model race this fall and at Goodyear, but sorry I didn't get to see it. We were ducking away. We were working away on that race car, trying to get some speed out of the thing. So
you didn't miss
but
much.
Having West Virginia on board has been a lot.
I did not know that when you were in college, you played baseball. I mean, you know, and played at I think it was Maryland Eastern Shore. I think is what it was.
Yep. That's correct. Yeah, I was a submarine pitcher. I played 2 years of junior college baseball, and then transferred over to UMES. I was basically an invited walk-on. I had a tryout there, and they gave me a shot to be on the team. And to this day, I still have some of my best friends from that team, and I've been able to make a lot of good relationships through coaches and everything there. And I thought baseball was my route, and I ended up in the racing world somehow from baseball. So very lucky and blessed to have that opportunity. But I do miss slinging a rock a little bit from time to time. I'll say that.
So how do you go from baseball to race car driving? Did you race
It's
prior
a
to
funny.
that, or-
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny story. So I was a huge Jeff Gordon fan growing up my whole life. And I watched every race, every practice session, every qualifying session, growing up from the time I was probably 5 years old till I still do today. And I was able to get garage passes. I think I was like 12 or 13 years old, and I was able to sneak in the garage area, or fan zone passes, I'll say, for Daytona. And I was able to sneak into the garage area, and I met a couple crew members that happened to know BJ McLeod at the time. And he explained to me how I would get involved in racing. And of course I go running home and tell mom, all excited about this opportunity. And she's like, no, you're going to get your college degree. So we've already come this far. You gotta, get through school and we'll talk about it. So baseball ended, and we were sitting on the couch one day, and she was like, well, why don't you call BJ and, see if that opportunity is still there. And he gave me an opportunity to come down and test his late model. And we weren't too bad to get an opportunity to go racing. So that's pretty much how that came together.
So how long have you been racing?
This is year 3 for me.
And had some starts in ARCA and everything. That's a pretty good deal for you.
Yeah, we've been very lucky and fortunate, like having West Virginia come on board. And, I believe that you're as strong as the people that you surround yourself by, and having a mom and dad and sister and support cast that I have, and a beautiful girlfriend and everybody around me that allows me to do what I do. It's been a blessing, to say the least. So year 3 worked out pretty good. I mean, we got to run some ARCA stuff. I got to run on the West Coast at Las Vegas and Roseville. And Roseville, I think we ran the second fastest lap of the whole race. And had the thing stayed green, I think we were at least a top 3 car, if not capable of winning the race. But we brought it home 7th, I believe.
So did you go out there with Bruce Cook to race his cars out there?
Yes, I did. Bruce and sorry I didn't get him in there soon enough. Bruce and everybody. Bruce Cook's been incredible to my career. He's made me a better race car driver from the moment I stepped in that shop. Everybody that works on those cars in his shop, I mean, it's such a team environment. They make me feel welcome. They made me feel welcome from the moment I've walked in that shop. But yeah, Bruce did both those cars out there on the West Coast for us.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's a big deal to have the whole state. Travis Braden had the University of West Virginia on his car for a while, and then you have the whole state of West Virginia back, and that's huge for somebody out of that state where not a lot of race car drivers come out of.
Right, and I feel truly blessed and honored to have them on the car. Like I said, there's no better sponsor for me to have than where I'm from. I'm so proud of being a West Virginian, and any chance we have to really share the message of how beautiful our state is, and being able to reach fans all across the country and try to encourage them to come and visit our state is the main goal behind that. But it's having a state. I mean, it's pretty wild to think, I get to go out there and put that brand on the race car and show it off all across the country.
Now, you were up in Morgantown today or yesterday, one or the other. I can't remember which one it was. Tell us a little bit. I mean, you got some stuff going on as far as the holiday season going and everything. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we work with Children's Miracle Network. We work with the Boys and Girls Club from the Eastern Panhandle in West Virginia. We like to give back. Really, the biggest message for us is trying to share, a drug-free environment. Try to really share a triple play initiative with the Boys and Girls Club, which is mind, body, spirit, and really teach these kids that, coming from a athletic background and playing baseball, that there is a lot that goes into your mental health and everything that you do to prepare yourself for an event. I'd say a lot of that goes into driving a race car as well. So that's definitely a huge thing. And we also, any sponsored race, are able to kick back $5 per lap to the Boys and Girls of the Eastern Club or the Eastern Panhandle. So the big thing I try to share the most is if I can inspire one kid to chase their dream, or to go out there and reach out for a limb, whether it's being a lawyer, a doctor, or you want to drive a race car, that's something that you can do if you really set your mind and really push yourself to be it.
That's cool. I mean, you're doing a great job with that. I saw that today, and I was pretty impressed by that. So Now, what's on tap for this coming year for you? You got anything lined up to go this year?
I really can't say what's all on tap just yet. I think we got some big stuff coming forward. I just don't know when we're going to be able to release that to the public yet. And
Okay.
I encourage you guys to stick with us and hold there for that thought, because I really want to say something I can't say just yet.
Yeah, I mean, there ain't nobody listening. Nobody watches this.
Yeah, we won't tell nobody. I mean, we'll keep it quiet. We won't say no, but we understand that. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Are you driving BJ's late model stuff?
No, so I've run a late model with Bruce. I've been with Bruce for 1.5 years now. I've been very fortunate in the people I've got to drive for. I got the race for BJ McLeod. I got the race for Mike Skinner a little bit in Daytona for 1.5 years, and now I get the race of Bruce, who obviously his resume speaks for itself. So I've been very lucky to be surrounded by people in the sport that have been pretty successful at what they do. In the most modest way of saying that.
Oh no, for sure.
How in the world did you get hooked up? I mean, you told us how you got hooked up with BJ McLeod, but how in the world did you get down there with Mike Skinner and that group to be able to drive his cars? I mean, that's a productive thing there to be able to do that.
Learning from Mike and Jamie and everybody down there, that they taught me how to drive a race car, probably the most, how to actually drive it in the last 3 years. And then Bruce has really helped me for me to be a better driver. So, I mean, they've both been huge on developing me as a race car driver. But it's a funny story. We were talking to, there's actually an attorney from my hometown. I had a place in Daytona Beach, and he got to talking about a race team down in Daytona. And he was like, would you be open to listening to that opportunity? I was like, yeah, of course I would. And that was actually with, I believe, Ben Kennedy at the time. And then we were trying to go there, and then Ben and their team came back and said they were full with Daniel Dye and Anthony Sergi at the time. So they gave me the Skinner's number, and that's how we ended up racing for Jamie and those guys and Mike for 1.5 years down there.
Yeah, I mean, Mike was a pretty good chassis guy before he was a really good race car driver. But Mike doesn't. Mike says what's on his mind also. So he doesn't hold back much either.
Well,
yeah, Mike was just being at the track and being able to follow him around when we tested it and listen to what him and Jamie both had to say. They do a really good job, I believe, in developing driver talent. So I'm very fortunate and lucky to have the years I had with them, and then it worked out for me to come up here and race with Bruce, and Bruce has done a heck of a job to make me a better race car driver all around, from communicating on what the car is doing and everything else. So very fortunate and very lucky to be in the spot I am, for sure.
So what's been the hardest thing? I mean, you're starting racing later in life compared to most of the kids coming along today. What's been the most difficult thing for you starting a little later than most of these guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely different. I think the first time I stepped into a race car was a super late model in 2018. And we were actually pretty quick. We weren't that far off in the first time we got in the race car. I think the biggest thing I had to learn was how to pass, how to set people up, because we struggled. I went down and tested pretty well, and then we got in the races, and I was pretty far off the pace. So the first 6 to 7 months of my racing career was learning, what the edge is, because I've definitely backed a few cars in the fence from time to time, or got the fence. But now developing and learning where the edge is and how to attack a racetrack but not go too far, how to save your tires, how to set somebody up. That's been the hardest part of my career is now that we're fast enough to run with a lot of these guys, I feel like it's very hard to pass in the late model. So learning how to qualify and put yourself in a better position to start a race. All those things are things that I've had to learn, where somebody that starts at a younger age, I believe, has a better ability to learn that from the time they're probably 5 to 15 years old. But I think the heavier race cars and the ARCA cars have definitely helped progress me in that, because the 2 races we had, I felt like they were a bit easier to pass in and be able to move forward in than the late model.
So your first time in the car was in a super late model?
Yeah, that's correct. That's the reaction I get every single time. Everybody's like, "Are you crazy?" And I was like, "Well, BJ told me he was going to put me to the wolves if we were going to do it," and that's pretty much what he did.
He pretty much threw you out there too.
Yeah. My first race I ever ran was the Red Eye, and then we ran speed weeks after that. So that gives you any sort of idea.
How nervous were you in those first couple of races? I mean, I can't imagine not having, or not. I mean, I'm sure you probably tested some before you got there, but not having any race experience. And I mean, hell, I've got a little bit of race experience, and I can't imagine jumping in a super late model the first time and running.
Yeah, I mean, the nerves, I can't even describe to you what it was like to hop into a super late model or any race car at that point and run speed weeks or the red eye for that, any matter. But I never felt like that on a baseball mound or anything. I think that's part of the reason I love racing and always have, is that now that I've learned to control those nerves and be a little better of conducting myself in the race car and what it takes to drive one. The excitement factor there is 10 times more than it ever was in baseball. But looking back at those first few races, and we ran places like Nashville and you know, the fairgrounds and all that stuff, and some pretty fast places for somebody who's never been in a race car. I'll say that.
For sure. I can't
that's
get over a
hard to
first race.
believe.
Let's just do a super late model.
Well, Christian, good luck to you. I hope you get everything ironed out. And when you get everything ironed out, I'd like to get you back on here and you can talk to us about it. Tell us everything you got going on. But
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for having me on, and thank you again for the opportunity to share, you know, or mention our sponsor in West Virginia and the Boys and Girls Club and everybody that backs us. Want to get one more in there. Blackdraft Distillery, they've helped us out a lot going forward. So I don't think I'm missing anybody in there, but those guys are the reason we get the race. So I got to thank them a ton for that.
Oh, absolutely.
well, we appreciate you being with us tonight. And I'll keep in touch with you. And maybe somewhere along the line, we'll get you back in here after you get ready, get all your stuff together, get you back on, we'll talk.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Christian.
you.
We appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Yep.
Man, hey, super late model, first race, right out of the gate. Hey, let's just go super late model racing. That's crazy.
I couldn't imagine that.
I mean, of course, I say that about some of these Bando drivers going to jump into a limited late model.
Hey,
But we'll see how Riley does.
Maybe a couple more we may have to see how they work out too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get Mr. Jack McNelly on here with us now and talk with him about the Cars Tour. What a super series that is. I really enjoy watching those cars when they come to Langley, and so hopefully we can get him on here and talk to him. He can get us an update on some new stuff these might have going on. So let's bring Jack McNelly on here, presented by Black Acid Apparel.
Good evening.
Good
How you
evening.
doing, Jack?
How you doing, sir?
Doing fine. And you?
Well, we're here. That's about all we can say right now.
We're on this side of the dirt. That's a good day.
That's a good day. Yes, sir.
Now you have got a fantastic racing series with the Cars Tour. I mean, I was back when the old Hooters Cup stuff wasn't going on, and it developed, and you took it and have developed it even more. You have really got a good product in the Cars Tour. It's really good.
Well, I appreciate the kind comments. You know, it's still a work in progress. We're still trying to improve our on-track product. But we have made some great strides that I'm very, very proud of. It's not been easy. We took some lumps. You mentioned the Hooters Pro Cup. I took over the Pro Cup series I was one of four in 2009. We took over after Hooters left. And in 2011, my other three partners were gone. And so we ran that as a Hooters Pro Cup series till 2015. And at the conclusion of 2014, I just said, we're either going to do something different or I'm going to quit completely. We just could not get the cars, the competitors out in the Pro Cup series. So we decided to change gears. UARA, Kerry Bodenheimer had a traveling series that he called UARA.
Right.
Was late model stocks. And Kerry shut down in 2013, had family issues that he had to take care of. So in 2014, there was not a traveling series for the late model stocks. So we decided to take a chance and pick up and fill that void with late model stocks. And at the same time, we decided Supers were pretty popular at the time. So we decided to run a dual show featuring the late model stocks and the super lates. And that's how it got started in 15. And we are now ready to start our 8th season. Time has really flown by, to say the least.
But you've got to be happy with how the development of this series, because I hear a lot of guys talk about the Cars Tour and how they love running on the Cars Tour and being a part of that and being able to travel to these other places and race. So you've got to be excited about the fact that you've got a series that everybody enjoys being a part of.
It is. I mean, it's very gratifying. We have fellows that have made a career out of late model stocks, and then we have the fellows that are just coming up the ladder. And it's very, very encouraging, very gratifying to see a Deke McCaskill, for example, come into our series. He came day one. He's been there ever since. He's still competitive. Just a great team. And I use him as an example. I mean, there's many others. Lee Pulliam doesn't necessarily drive now, but he still has teams in our series. Those fellas. Bobby McCarty is now a 3-time champion. To see them being able to come in and get their fix, so to speak, very gratifying. And by the same token, to see young fellows come up and do well, use our series as a stepping stone. I really get a thrill, to be very honest with you. I really get a thrill out of watching NASCAR on Friday nights and Saturdays, because there is a tremendous number of drivers that are in the truck series or the Xfinity series now that came through our series.
Right.
And that is very, very rewarding to me.
So you made the progression. You took over the series and you changed it to what it is. Do you have to make adjustments every year with certain things that you like to see different? And I think you got some new stuff coming this year too, don't you?
We do. We kind of have given up on the super late model division. As I mentioned previously, we had a very tough time with the pro late models. I will make no bones about it. We lost a great deal of money trying to keep the pro series going. And I made myself a promise that if I ever had another division that dropped off and was not supporting what we're trying to do here, I was not going to go on forever. And so last year in 2020, I saw the numbers starting to diminish. 2021, they continued to diminish on the super side. And so I made a decision at that time that I was not going to offer super late model racing. So we switched over to the pro late model division. And a lot of people say, well, what's the difference? The only difference is in the motor. The pro late models run a crate motor. It's my understanding that they're much more affordable to run and much more affordable to rebuild when it gets to the point of rebuilding these motors.
So what you're saying is you're going to have a Cars Tour late model and a pro late model division.
That is exactly right. We're going to have late model stocks and pro late model division, 2 divisions.
So will they be running at the same tracks, or are you going to have them going at different places at different times or whatever?
The large majority of our 15 race schedule, our 15 race late model schedule, I believe the pros are going to be with them 12 times.
Well, that's good.
For the most part, yes. We do have a couple, 3 standalone late model races, and we have a couple, 3 standalone pros. But the large majority, they're going to be running together.
Well, that's cool. That's good. And have you got any new venues coming up this year, or is it basically the same this coming year?
They're basically the same. We do have what used to be called Coastal Plains,
Right.
which is now taken over by Anthony Goodyear.
Right.
And we are going down there on April the 23rd. We're going back to Dillon. I'm just trying to see if there are any different. We are going to Caraway twice. Our large $30,000 to win late model stock race is going to begin the season this year, March 13th at Caraway.
Cool. All right. So, I mean, it's predominantly an East Coast series. So that's really good for these guys on this side here to be able to make some of these local like Caraway and Goodyear. Goodyear's a great track. I was just down there not too long ago. That's a great place. So you got some good venues coming up there.
We do. And, we're going back to Langley. You had mentioned that in the previous era. Working with Vaughn and Bill Wallace up there is always a good experience. Beautiful racetrack, good fan support. And also we're going to Dominion. Great racetrack, very, very fast racetrack. But working with Steve Britt, all the promoters that we work with are just wonderful, really. Motor Miles back on our schedule. We're going back to Langley, Austin's Franklin County Speedway.
Ooh, okay.
Yep, we are. We were there in 2019. I think, was it 2019? No, I'm sorry, 2020. 2020, the year of the COVID, and had a fantastic run. A lot of people were concerned about whether it would turn into a crash fest. We ran two events, 125 laps each, supers and late model stocks, and the wrecker never left his pad.
Nice.
Well, that's cool. Because up there, that's got to be a big thing for Franklin County not to be able to use the wrecker during that race.
He never answered a call. Nope.
That's cool. Well,
and I'll take it one step further too. Wake County, a little quarter-mile bull ring.
Right.
We have now been there twice with the late model stocks, and we've had a couple spins or stuff like that, but for the most part, no carnage at all.
Cool. Well, you got some of the cream of the crop of racing in your group there that they do a great job with their racing, and so you don't have that concern in some of these
you
other
can tear their
places.
stuff up if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fellas, these race cars are not cheap any longer.
No.
The parts and the repairs and all that sort of thing. It's a pretty expensive deal. And I preach about 4 times a year when I feel it's necessary at the drivers' meeting that they really need to take into consideration this and to think about the amount of money that they're throwing away, so to speak, just by being dumb. And that's about all you can say. Accidents are going to happen. There's, something's going to happen and you're going to have a wreck. But so many times, so many of these things can be totally avoided.
Yeah.
Now, are you guys still going to go back at some point to Rockingham?
No, that was kind of doomed from the get-go. As you probably know, we went down there in December, did a tire test, and the tire that we had was just not going to work. That's at a very, very abusive racetrack, even back in the day when they were running there. Well, now that it's set there for 7 years, all the rubber, everything's been washed. It's like a cheese grater. And we just did not have a tire. So Hoosier We had engineers there. Hoosier took measurements, did whatever. They said they were going to build us a tire. So we took them at their word. We rescheduled the race for November. Then the tire shortage came hit. Well, between our worrying about whether we were going to have tires to run our regular season and them worrying about being able to produce enough tires, the Rockingham tire building fell through the cracks. And it was 2 days, just 2 days before we were going to have our first open test for the race in November. And I was called and told they did not build the tire.
Wow.
So at that point, we were dead in the water. And unfortunately, I don't think that we have the competitors' support to go back and try to do that again.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, with some of these, you know, they're talking about rebuilding Wilkesboro and stuff like that. Would that be something that you guys would be looking into if they get all that back underway to maybe race there sometime?
I think Wilkesboro would be, yes. It's a little smaller track,
Right.
not quite as high banked. I would absolutely be in favor of going to Wilkesboro.
Well, I hope that works out too, because that would be a great place to go back to. You know, I hate that it didn't work out for Rockingham because I enjoyed going to Rockingham, but that's just one of those things that happens with the tire. Go ahead.
Well, I was just ready to say, you know, there are some things that I guess was not meant to be, and that was one of them.
Right. And with the tire shortage that we've had this past year, how bad did that affect you guys in your season, or did you have any problems with that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we did. You know, I think we all lost. It was one of those deals where we all lost. But I think the biggest group that was hurt the most was the young 14, 15, 16-year-old racer. Because when these kids need as much track time as they can get. Midweek testing, there was hardly any. Where in years past, you take your Lee Falk Racing, your Lee Pulliam Racing, Barry Nelson Motorsports, these fellas that do this for a living and have young folks sign up to run their cars. This is what they would do. They would practice. They would buy tires and they would go to different tracks, maybe on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and do testing.
Right.
Get these kids comfortable. Well, that all went by the wayside. And even to the point when they came race weekend on, I'm going to say 2 or 3, maybe even 4 race weekends, we didn't even have practice tires for Friday. So all day Friday and all day Saturday, everybody was practicing on scuff, worn out tires. And then you take the 4 race tires, which we did get, and you put them on for qualifying. And here's this 14-year-old kid. He has no idea what that car is going to feel like when he drives it down into turn 1.
Right.
Because he never had that experience.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I'd mentioned, you know, Dick McCaskill and some of these, Bobby McCarty. Yeah, those guys can do it. They can get by. It's not a perfect situation, but they can get by and make it happen. Mm-hmm. You take a 14-year-old kid, he can't do it. Right. He cannot do it. I mean, we had Caden Honeycutt. Comes to mind now. I'll tell you what, Caden Honeycutt is a tremendously talented young race car driver. Caden really struggled because he did not have the track time. If he would have had the track time that you would normally have, I think Bobby McCarty would maybe not won the championship. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Mm.
Well, Jack, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, Jack, where do you see the Cars Tour in 5 years? I mean, what is do you have a goal of you want to, be a bigger series than it is now? Or are you comfortable being, like it is now with Rock Solid? I know they've been a big supporter, and that guy's done a lot for a lot of guys.
Yes. Well, first of all, before I totally forget it, I need to call out his name. Kirk Ipock, Solid Rock Carriers is just an unbelievable supporter, not only of this series, but of short track racing in general.
Yes.
Lord only knows how much money he has spent. But you know what? His first thing is, he said, I'm a race fan. I want to see good racing. I want to see short track racing survive. And he is there to answer the bell. We just signed a 2-year contract with him. So we're good with Solid Rock for 2022 and 2023. He is an absolute joy to work with. He shows up at every event. He's just a wonderful individual. That's all I can say. But to answer your question, I would like to continue pretty much the way it is. I don't know that with our small management team here that we can get much larger. We would have to probably increase our mid-management people. I'm a believer in this, that before you think about going any larger, you've got to perfect what you have.
Right.
And I don't think we're just quite there yet. I think there's things that we need to do that time and effort and, yes, money will help us maybe get to that point, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. Well, I think you got a really nice product. I mean, I think everybody enjoys when the Cars Tour comes to town to come and see it. So, I mean, that just speaks for itself.
Yes. The grandstand, we're just very satisfied with the live audience that we have at each and every event. Now, some's a little bit better than others, I mean, let's be honest, but for the most part, very, very pleasing to look up there in the stands and see the number of folks that we have. And especially at some tracks that are not known to have a great front gate, for us to go and be able to put numbers in the stands, that's very gratifying.
Well, you definitely have got a great program, and I tell you what, we can't wait till they come to Langley, and I would love to go to some these other tracks and watch them. I love to be at Franklin County when that race comes up.
Well, that's in May, I believe, May 21st.
So I love to see that one too.
Well, that's
we appreciate you being with us tonight, man. I know you've got a lot going on. Things are busy for you, but we appreciate everything for you being with us, and hopefully we'll get you back on here again real soon, and we'll talk about the season as it goes along.
all right. Well, thanks, Jack. Thanks, Scott.
Thank
All right,
you.
we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Night.
All right.
I mean, the Cars Tour has turned into be a nice
Oh, yeah.
program. I mean, I don't think I've really heard anybody complain about the Cars Tour. I mean, from tech to, the whole program as a whole. Usually somebody's going to complain about tech, or they don't tech, or they do tech, and yada, yada, yada. They have a pretty good program. Everybody knows what you're getting into when you show up.
That's right.
And even, local guys at each track that want to run the cars tour with their late model. I think there's a few little things that are different, but not much. If I'm not mistaken.
It's online.
Yeah, that when the local guys run their local racetrack on the cars tour, it seems to be they're there with their arms open.
Pretty cool deal. So how much did you bring back a lot of hardware with you when you went? Money and
I think I got a hat on order for me, but hardware is back in Concord. Well, one piece is on its way to California. The other piece is back in Concord. So where they belong, chassis 074 for Robert Hampke won the Derby, and that's what mattered.
So how many times have you been down there and done this now?
The Derby or just to that track?
Well, I mean the Derby,
I've
the
done the
Snowball.
Derby
You've done a
twice.
bunch.
I've been to Pensacola maybe 4 or 5 times now in a year and a half.
Now, what kind of things do you learn? Because I mean, obviously you're around much different race teams, so there's some things that you can learn.
Yeah,
Now, whether they tell you or not, that might be a different story. But
I know a lot. Like Snowball Derby weekend, we always joke that we're stuck in prison. We're over there in the tire impound pretty much all day. I didn't really get to many of the pits much this weekend, but I kind of learned that we in late model stocks are in prehistoric times comparatively to our super late model brethren. Yeah, they're it's a whole other beast over there with the technology they have. It's crazy. But I just learned a lot about the tire. Like this week, I got to spend a lot of time with Hoosier people.
Mm-hmm.
We sit down and have lunch, and I just be able to pick their brains about, the tire compound, the codes, the Pro 6 tire. I may have asked a few questions about that while I was down there to Chad from Hoosier, and he was more than helpful. They can tell me a lot of stuff. So it's a great time, and like I said, everybody down there, Tim Bryant, his old crew, the Bryants that run Parts Barn in the infield, they're real nice. Always ask us if we need food or anything. All the race teams that we work with are great.
So during the race, do y'all have any responsibility, or is it you're done and you just kind of a fan at that point?
This year I kind of didn't do as much, but usually we end up with a team and just kind of make sure the tires are ready. This year we didn't have as many people that needed that, so I kind of got to hang out and just kind of watch a little more of the race. But like last year, I'm out on Derek Griffin's pit, and kind of helped a few things really with them. But I've done that. That's usually what I do when like Jennerstown, I was with Sammy during the race and making sure that the stagger was right, the pressure was right, and Bond was happy with what the numbers were going to be when we bolt the tires on at each stop. Which I love Bond, but he demands a lot out of those tires.
Now when you go down there and y'all are doing a bunch of different teams, is all the rims the same? So you can say, okay, put all these tires at 20 pounds and measure them, or do you have 6 is this one and 6 is this one, and you just got to make those work?
Yeah, every team's got their own, and you've got to pay attention because one, we're making sure we're mounting rights and lefts as lefts. But like Ben Kennedy Racing, they run five white fives like we do with late model stocks. Nassie and Donnie Wilson run different offset 5-on-5s. So you have to make sure you're paying attention. Okay, I grab the right rim. I need a right tire now. And there's been some moments where somebody, me early on, but not as much now.
I was wondering
the wrong rim and the wrong tire.
Now, does each team have a different? Hey, I want my pressures to be this, and I want X number of stagger.
They worked with Wes on that. Wes will guide them in a certain direction, and they'll be like, it's also very chassis dependent. Fury car might want more stagger than a dark car might want, or more than a Hampy might want. So you're dealing with a lot of variables at play. Because we're working with guys across all chassis motors.
So it's not. So when you go down there, it's not the same. Okay, I got to do the same thing.
No, we're dealing with all kinds of stuff. And I think we did this year. I think we did 150. We'll say 150 sets.
Wow.
Over 5 days. And that was because they limited us. Last year we
That's
did
a lot of-
205 sets.
Sets. That's a lot of tires.
Mm-hmm.
How many guys are there with you?
This year we had 5.
God dang, that's a lot of damn tires to be dealing with. And sometimes getting the stagger, it's not that easy sometimes.
No. We're dealing with, at the mercy of who's not available and what they got in the building. And, now
Well, that's why I was wondering if you could take so many sets and say, okay, these 4 come out to this and we can give them the such and
we're
such.
grabbing them at different times. You got to get all the practice tires done. And then, it was 4 o'clock on Thursday. We started pulling race tires or qualifiers in order of qualifying. So like the guy was going out first, got the first pick. So we did that, and then everybody that qualified in Friday night, 9:30 Saturday morning, we were pulling 3 sets for each car for the race. And then at Saturday night, we had to do 4 more sets for Rich Bickle and Carson Hosevar after they made the race in the last chance race.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rich got the provisional, but he had to run the last chance race. They made him run it.
Mm-hmm.
So women, you deal with your time slots. You got to make sure you have them ready to go to impound for tech. Just try to make sure everybody's happy and the officials are not screaming at you.
Well, how much time do you spend with the crew chief getting his feelings on what you're doing?
Me, not so much. Wes spends a lot of time with them, but like Chris Cater from NASA, every time I see him, I'm like, hey, how are the tires? How was this? How was that? We'll talk just socially, but and I try to learn from what we're talking about. Or I'll talk like that was Bond or Dennis Dean down at Donnie Wilson. He's a really good dude. I ask him a lot of questions every time we're just hanging out. Because I'm still, I always joke I'm the late model stock guy that got lost and ended up. Actually, that's what the first time I went down. I got picked up at the airport. I got dropped off at the front gate because Wes had to go pick up other people from the restaurant they were eating lunch at. And I was sitting there eating my lunch, and Bubba Pollard pulled up and looked at me like, "You get lost somewhere?" I said, "Very lost." I said, "I don't know what I'm doing down here."
Do you have something when somebody comes across or a team says we want X number of stagger and we want our air pressures to be this, and you're going, well, that ain't kind of it.
Wes handles that sometimes in a very professional way, sometimes just in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Where he gets a little high strung, and that's just Wes, and everybody knows that. But he's done this a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been very successful with a lot of different people. So kind of gotta it's hard to disagree with him.
Yeah, well, sure.
Well, that's our show for tonight. Next week, we know we got Vaughn Crittenden coming next week, but what? Mason Dunn said, "Why?"
You try and get him yelled at by all the Super Street guys. I still gotta read those rules because I was sitting in the impound and I pulled up Facebook and I went, "Oh hell, everything's gone to shit up there."
Yeah, I haven't read them. I think what I understand is wedge bolts.
It's probably stuff that in the end won't be so bad, but it's
the
a momentary
initial
freak
shot.
out.
Well, I mean,
The limited rules are great, I think.
yeah, I don't know enough about it to say. I've been out of the old late model stuff so long, so I don't. I mean, I like the idea of, but I don't know. I really don't know.
All I do is plain rules. Plain rules are great.
Well, that and they can't produce over so much horsepower regardless.
Yeah.
405, and if you get dynoed, then you're out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think that's a good positive thing because it doesn't matter what you do to it. If you can't get over a certain horsepower, if you get caught, then you're SOL. So it'd be interesting because that looks like the limited late models can be probably a decent little field.
Could be.
It's feeling like it's going to be.
Look, you had Vaughn next week, and
Well, that's all I got right now. But I was getting ready to tell you why, but I ain't gonna tell you why now. We're gonna get him on talk about this past season, and I'm sure he'll get some questions about. I'm sure.
Vaughn's not the one to be asking about the rules.
Well,
so.
I'm looking to get Justin maybe to come on week after next.
He probably wants to let it simmer a little bit.
Yeah, well, I ain't talked to him yet, so I
I
haven't
mean,
said anything.
Ray Charles could see it looks like the Grand Stocks and the Super Streets will meet.
Oh, well. All right, well, that's our show. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate Mason Dunn for being here to give us a little bit
I
on
just
the.
try to be a delivery boy.
Well, I appreciate you doing the delivery.
You asked Mason to do something for you?
Yeah. I had to get him a shirt and a hat.
Sorry.
I had to take a big suitcase down and buy one of his shirts.
No. As much as you give him a hard time for correcting
Me
you.
give him a hard time? Me give him a hard time? I say something, the first thing I do is look over here and make sure Mason ain't corrected me on it.
I mean, I will say this. If you come to a snowball derby, don't come to the tire area. Your feelings will get hurt as soon as you walk through the fence. Like I am a small fish in that pond.
Oh,
So you'll be a nobody.
I guess I ain't going down that way.
I'm just saying it's just a little rough in those waters.
Does it?
I don't need to trail in them waters in too much. Anyway, all right, we'll see you again next week. Talk to you then.